This is the Henry's Child Podcast. Am I crazy? Or am I just raving?
Today's Am I Crazy or Am I Just Raving podcast is a very special one. Today I sit down and I talk with John Colgate. John is just an amazing and extraordinary human being. He is one of the coolest guys you will ever meet, and he's one of the most authentic people that I've ever met in my life. I didn't realize until I started talking to him how much commonality we had, how much of a kindred spirit we were, especially when it came to the reasons why we're doing music this sort of second time around. And even as I was kind of sharing it with the guys in Henry's Child, everyone was like, wow, this is really, it's not only relatable, but it's relatable on such a fundamental and core level that it's really, really worth exploring and describing and even ultimately declaring to the world. So today's interview is with John Colgate, currently the guitar player of Jollymon. He's got another side project called CEO, and he's just is an all-around amazing musician and just a really, really cool guy. And I'm really looking forward to getting him back in for episode number 2. So if you see him, go, man, I loved that first podcast. It was really great. Go in and talk to Tommy T again. But before I share that, I want to get some housekeeping out of the way. And the housekeeping has to do with the show coming up on Friday. That's this Friday, October 25th at Sessions Music Hall. It's a really great show because, first off, it's our last show of the year. So if you want to see Henry's Child in 2019, come on out to the Sessions Music Hall. And the doors open at 7, and the show starts at 8. And the lineup is flipping amazing. We've got After the Rain coming up from Grants Pass. That is Scott Watkins' band. And Scott Watkins, who also was on this show, on the Am I Crazy or Am I Just Raving podcast, was the singer and the guitar player of Thresher and 2 Minutes Hate. And as far as I know, this is actually his first ushering back into Eugene. I'm pretty sure that this is the first time that After the Rain has performed in Eugene since they got back together. So definitely come out early and check out After the Rain. In the middle slot is Toxic Zombie. Toxic Zombie not only shares our rehearsal studio up in Salem, but is another band that Toby Lugo plays in as well. So going along with the Halloween theme, if you're ready to really celebrate Halloween, come on out and see Toxic Zombie. They're like a mixture of horror, kind of Bad Religion punk. They're going to fit really, really nicely with Henry's Child, and it's going to be a great show. Those guys put on a performance and have a merch booth that puts anything I've ever seen to shame. So Bishop and Starby and Grim and Johnny and Toby are going to blow you away as you come out and see them on Friday. Finally, of course, we're going to perform, and we have dusted off yet another classic song from Mobiles and Screams that we're going to actually open the show with. So definitely make it there for that. It's going to be very, very cool. So make sure you get there early and make sure you pick up the record I Have Become if you have not picked one up yet. And in the meantime, please enjoy this wonderful conversation with my friend, John Colgate.
What's weird about my setup, or different, I guess, is I don't have a traditional console.
Oh, yeah? What do you
have? The console is in the computer. It's the Apollo system. Has the console in there, so you toggle between Pro Tools and the actual console, so you're working the console digitally.
So it's a virtual
like a
console.
Giant Neve console.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. And that's kind of the way that things are going.
Yeah.
Because I about probably 3 or 4 years ago, down at the rehearsal space, I bought an XR18, which I get it, and they're like, it's a mixer. I'm like, no, it's like a holder for an iPad.
Right.
And it truly is, because it's all virtual. And so that was, I got a few extra gray hairs off of that one.
I don't know if you talk to Carey about the way he does things. His mind, he's so creative. and an old giant monitor, you know what I'm saying? And then some kind of like I/O system somewhere.
Yeah.
That you can't really see. Connected to a mixer, connected to another mixer, connected to all our stuff. And the practice tapes sound so great. Like, you can hear everything, but it is the most cumbersome, cable-heavy, craziest
cluster of just rat nest, huh?
Dude, if it ever came apart, like, I don't know how you put it back together.
That's the troubleshooting nightmare, right?
He'd figure it out in 2 seconds. I would just throw a match on.
And this is at Carey's place, and so do you guys practice at Carey's place?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So. Oh, Jollymon. That's we're jumping all the way ahead to the end.
Sorry.
I do got no. I love it. Hey, listen, I do have some references though that.
Oh wait, are we starting?
I haven't. Oh yeah, we started. No, it's all good. It's all
I
good.
thought we're just hanging out.
We are hanging out.
Perfect.
On a Thursday morning at like 8:30. That's just what old guys do.
That's right.
That's right.
Don't even have coffee. I already drank it.
So, I was given that you were a Legion, so you're known by many names. So there's Johnny Gold, right? And Jay Gold, right?
Yeah.
And it's weird. I think if you were in a band in the 90s, you had to have rap names.
Yes.
Because mine was T Money, but not because I was rich, but because I actually was the accountant. So I kept all the like the financial records or whatever.
T stood for treasurer. Didn't even stand for Tom, right?
Yeah, treasurer, and then just a $sign.
It.
Back when you could just change your name to a $sign.
Nice.
So you're Jay Gold, right?
Jay Gold was a name given to me by Mr. Carey. Yep.
And he's lo-fi Ludo or something.
Yeah, there's a bunch.
It's beautiful.
But yeah. Oh, his name now is Carey Reed. Carey Reed. We did some interview not too long ago with a guy, I don't know, somewhere in Europe. And guy kept calling him Carey Reed.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So changed his name.
We had a review for 7 Second Circle, our other band, and the singer is Brian Forster. And they kept referring to him as Ben Foster.
At some point, you just got to accept it and move on. Yeah.
No, but that's what bands are. Bands are tribes. Bands are tribes of people. So, did you grow up around here?
I did not. I was born here, but
Where is here? Is here in Portland?
Portland.
Or
yep.
Oregon?
Portland,
okay.
Oregon.
As the East Coasters say.
Yeah.
Yep.
And no, most of my growing up was in Nashville, Tennessee.
Wow.
And then came back out here during high school. Everyone was like, "What you gonna do in Oregon?" So
yeah, that's a long ways away, man.
Yeah, it
Holy
was
cow, that's like different
weird time
worlds.
to move. Yeah.
And when was this?
Gosh, you're gonna make me say a year? No, 89.
89?
Yep.
Okay. I was gonna say early 90s.
Great
Close.
time to be here because I was super into music and already doing music, and so 89 I landed in Portland, and it was pretty awesome.
That's rad. So your friends in Tennessee, now you're probably into music when you were in Tennessee too.
Yeah.
Had Nirvana broke by then? By that far? No.
No,
So
not
it
there.
probably was not there. But here they were.
It was just starting, yeah.
Wow.
I think 89 they were still, doing stuff.
Playing SteerCon.
Yeah, exactly.
With Hitting
With
Birth.
Pond, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Pond, yeah.
Yeah.
Got a Pond poster in there too.
Yeah, love those guys.
Yeah. So you moved to Oregon.
Yep.
And you landed in Portland. And did you have ties here? Did you have like a parent here or family here or?
Military. My dad was military.
Okay.
Yeah, and he was tied in here and spent a lot of time here. So there was a lot of like ancillary, quote unquote, family, if you will, that I didn't know, but were pretty amazing people. So yeah, it was pretty easy assimilation into the mix here.
And so so by the time you moved, had you started playing guitar?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I was playing guitar and doing music in Nashville, and it's a whole different world there than here. I describe it to some of my friends, like when I got here, it's like, man, I live in a country club now. This whole place was like nice and felt real fancy. And, at the time in the area I lived in the South, it was just it's like moving to a different country, it felt like.
Oh, I bet.
So, but yeah, music has always kind of been a big thing.
Did you join a band or did you form a band here in Portland or?
I would say within a year, I started getting into the music right away because and I wasn't old enough to be in bars, but there was all ages stuff in Portland then. A lot more of it.
Surprisingly so.
Yeah.
And so was La Luna was around then?
No, it was Pine Street Theater.
Oh, Pine Street Theater, sure. So there probably
X-Ray
was...
Cafe.
Oh, sure. There had been some all-ages stuff there, too.
Yeah, it was still there. And, some other spots. I can't remember names of things, but immediately I was just trying to check out what was going on and was totally enamored by how unique and genuine everything was. It was pretty captivating. So I immediately started seeking out people to play with and met some guys and started playing music. I think I would have been a junior in high school, but when we started really kind of
that's
getting
like
after
the
it.
perfect timing too, because you're like your frontal lobes kind of already sort of like, okay, I'm going to start to think about things besides me now, and like how you look, and back then everything was important, like the length of your hair and like what you were wearing. And no, I'm with you. That's
I
awesome.
sucked at all that. Like I have no idea how to, all of that was beyond me. Yeah, we started, and I was an athlete, kept me out of trouble. So trying to balance that in school with where my heart was.
What'd you play?
Music.
Like basketball and
football and baseball
man of both seasons. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
So I move out here from Tennessee, and I remember going to the bus stop the first day. I have a Motley Crue Shout at the Devil shirt on, my ripped jeans, a mullet, and I'm smoking Marlboro Reds.
Damn, you were badass. Dude.
In this neighborhood of kids that took tennis lessons, you know what I mean? Like I didn't know where I really was. And at first I felt like, oh, I'm totally the outcast. But then I realized they were just scared shitless. Like, what is this person doing in our neighborhood? So it was kind of weird. But
Mom, roll up your window.
Yeah, I guess my track on that is being young and impressionable. I kind of cleaned up, cut the hair, and tried to fit in a little bit. So
sure.
Your whole point about important how you look, all that stuff, like it was totally over my head.
Yeah.
But the music part of it, man, I was all over it.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. Nice. So you're here and you graduate high school. What is the chronological order of your bands? Was Field Tripper your first band?
No, actually my first band was in high school, and it was called Temper Buzz.
Temper Buzz.
Yeah, and we actually played that X-Ray quite a bit, and it seemed like Elvis always got on stage every time we played there.
For real?
Wanted to sing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
So that was like the very first introduction to Portland, other than just going and chasing all the bands at the time that we really liked. Completely Grocery and Drunken Abbeys and...
Yeah, those guys were big.
Hitting Birth, of course.
Yeah, totally.
It was so much great music. And then out of high school, I met up with Brian Powell in Temper Buzz. So that was right when high school was
Okay,
ending.
so he was in Temper Buzz.
He was,
okay.
Yep. And then Brandon Callahan as well, both of which we
Tall
played
drummer.
in, Field Tripper, Blyss, and Assisted Living. And Jollymon, actually. We all played in all those bands together at some point. So... so we started doing the thing, jumping around, mixing and matching, playing, writing music. That was a cool thing. It seemed like at that time, at least through my lens, everybody was doing original. Everybody's writing music. You had all the Seattle stuff going on at that time, and there wasn't like this, at least that I knew about, this huge cover scene. There was no tribute bands, none of that
Oh
stuff
yeah,
was
no,
happening.
this is
It was
yeah,
like,
and it's all culturally contextual too. So we had
Yeah.
a lot less competition with Xboxes and Netflix and things where people wanted to stay home.
No
you
Guitar Hero.
like exactly. And that's like the Simon of guitar players, right? I'm working on that joke. Actually,
The
for
Simon
my
Says?
for my 5 minutes of stand-up comedy,
Yes.
it's like the Guitar Hero is like the Simon of playing real guitar. You mean the Eddie Van Halen version where like there's like a purple button up here and you just kind of do the tapping. Anyway, it's gonna sound dumb on a
Yeah,
podcast,
it makes it pretty easy too when the buttons are,
right? Yeah,
huge.
There's like a span of 4 inches for
Right.
for the frets. So anyway, my point is there was less competition, and so I remember very distinctly, like, well, first off, waiting till I turned 21, because all of a sudden, like, the plethora of different bands that you could go see, the berth just got much bigger. So for me, growing up in Eugene, it became going from Wow Hall to John Henry's to, Max's Tavern, all the places that I had played when I was 15, and they would put big X's on my hand, so that you could play. And so you're kind of experiencing that. And I remember very distinctly, like, meeting up with people and just going to see bands because their name was flippin' weird.
Yes.
Or like, I heard this guy eats his own whatever, on
Yeah.
stage and that kind of thing. So, okay, so it sounds like you had some pretty core guys there with you. And
Yeah.
so two other guys that you mentioned, they were in all three of those bands, huh?
Yep.
So I remember Field Tripper played the Wow Hall, and that was my first experience with it. And there was already kind of this is before we signed on before Henry's Child signed on Elemental Records.
Yep.
And John Boldt, I was courting him. And the way that you court people when you're an INTJ like myself is you do all the mundane stuff that they don't want to do. So back then it was like making copies, and it was going and getting coffee, and it was doing all this work for free that you just kind of like want to be around the people that you want to be like. And John's like, yeah, we got this demo from this band called Field Tripper, and they sound like Jollymon. And I'm like, what? And so like he played a couple songs, like, God damn, these guys are really good. So I immediately got Jarrett. And of course, the whole thing, and especially back then, and I wish this happened a little bit more now, is when you heard about something new, there immediately was like a following was a show. So in that case, like I think Field Tripper was like opening for somebody at the Wow Hall like that Friday or something. And this was like a Tuesday. So there was a little bit of kind of a build up. Of course, like I make a
Damn, I wish I remembered this.
I make a copy of the tape, which, by the way, Jarrett found and put in Pro Tools now.
Oh,
so
wow.
I actually have it to play. I was going to, like, I had this whole fantasy of, like, you walking up the stairs and, like, 50 Cent Mascot's playing in the background. I'm like, I'm going to fucking impress John. But truth be told, people, I was actually late. John was here 40 minutes before me this morning, and I was stuck in traffic in Portland, which is just, I guess, the norm these days.
This is the first time that I've been earlier on time the entire year.
I love
So
it.
I want to make note of that. I'm glad it's recorded.
So now that we have this podcast and we kind of have this reach and we have these people that sort of, follow us, they know you as the guitar player of Jollymon, and they know you as the guitar player of Jollymon within the context of Voidwalker, which is, dude, first off, congratulations. Oh my God, that
Thanks,
record
man.
just, I mean, not only is there not a clunker on it, but they're all really good songs. And in fact, they're so good. We had Stefan remix a song that's on the new record, and I just put down a few grand. We're going in to
You
record
should.
the next record
Smart
with him.
play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's very, very cool.
Yeah. Great guy. The Wizard. We call him the Wizard.
He's a stud.
He
And
is.
half his gear. Oh my gosh, man.
Well, as you get to know him, you find out he's a major dude.
Yeah?
Major dude.
Yeah, he's a
Yep.
good dude. Yeah, so we're super stoked.
That's awesome.
So being that you're known as the guitar player of Jollymon,
Mm-hmm.
I reached out to Carey and I got some questions. I'm gonna ask you to elaborate on.
Oh, from Carey you got these?
Yeah, this is from Carey Rich.
Oh, God.
So first off, I really want to hear the story of how Jollymon absorbed Field Tripper.
Okay.
So what happened with that?
This-
Now he said, to jar your memory,
I'll need that.
he had already booked apparently the Nobody Knows Who You Are CD release show in Portland at the Roseland.
Correct.
Okay, so did you play on that record?
I did not.
You did not play on the record, but
Played
you probably had to learn all the songs in like 5 minutes, huh?
I did. So it wasn't quite 5 minutes. If we back up just a hair.
Yeah, please do.
Luke Norton from Anzio Bridgehead, drummer, who was in Field Tripper, obviously Anzio Bridgehead.
Mm-hmm.
He's played in Jollymon. Me and him. Mark Blackburn, drummer of Jollymon.
Yep.
Brian Smith, guitarist of Anzio Bridgehead, who also played the guitar on the second Jollymon record. Brian Powell, my buddy, we've played in all the bands together. I am. There was 5 of us and me. It was a 5-piece band. We were like a band for a month called Public Love Doll. Played a bunch of house parties. So you had 2 drummers.
I love that name. Public Love Doll?
Yeah. 2
and
drummers.
Open for Love Load, right?
Yeah, right. Mark and Luke playing drums, me and Luke singing, Brian Smith and me on guitar, and Brian Powell on bass. So,
dude, wow.
That's
rad.
it was so fun because all those guys are awesome, and everybody was very different in their ways. But essentially, we played some show, and it was just me and Luke and Brian. We started doing Field Tripper, and I knew of Jollymon, but I didn't know. I had never seen them.
Okay.
Yeah, so I didn't know anything about like what the music was or anything. I don't even remember how the conversation started, but somehow I started talking to Carey. He needed a guitar player. All of a sudden, you have 2 bass players, just me on guitar, Mark and Luke playing drums together, and Carey singing, and it was whatever this version of Jollymon was that had to play the CD release show, and Critters Buggin' was the opening act of that show.
No way.
Yeah, and so I'm 20.
Buggin'.
I'm
Wow.
20. You know,
Yeah.
I'm not even old enough to drink yet, even though I was proficient at it.
Well, yeah.
And so, yeah, I don't know. It was kind of like a quick little whirlwind of things that came together. Wow. Brian and I moved into the basement of Carey's house.
That's a trip.
We started doing this 5-piece version of Jollymon, one of the many variations of the machine.
Yeah. Well, we did our best to kind of look it up, and we think that show was sold out for sure.
Yeah.
Back in those days. With Roseland.
Yeah.
And stuff. That's still a big venue to play.
It is. They still got cool the flyer place. up in the deal there.
Do they really?
Show. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Jollymon and Critters Buggin'.
Yeah.
I gotta find that one. You were part of some spanking shows in Newport. Now he says Newport, and there's a club we used to play called Cape Fear that would come up. Is that where these spanking shows took place?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. You know the guy named Robert who owned that
I do.
He lives in Portland.
Does he?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
I had on Andre Hagestedt, who was a writer for the Statesman Journal, and he used to write about us at Westside Station down in Salem. And he came in and did a podcast. He's like, "Oh yeah, I hung out with Robert last weekend or whatever." I'm like, "Wow, the same guy who owned Cape Fear."
That's wild.
I have a crazy Cape Fear story, but I want to hear about your spanking show.
Okay. So we had done, I think, 45 days or something out
on the road.
On the road, playing shows everywhere. And it was a summer tour, and we were wearing the gas masks and the flight suits and doing all our own lights, and it was a grinder, right?
Oh, God.
Hot and just, I think everyone was getting a little delirious towards the end, and this was the end. And
so the Newport show was that the last show on the tour?
I think it was. It was either that or maybe we did, because I think we did Portland before we left, like on the way out. And then I think that was the last show or 2 shows.
That's what we would always do, because you'd make your most money in your hometown, and then that would sort of sustain you to go out and have Taco Bell the rest of the time.
Right.
And so anyway,
which makes no sense, because by the time you're done with 45 days, things are so tight, and you can just play with your eyes closed and not even think about it.
So
it's just
good.
click,
On
click,
the song.
click, click. Yeah. But So we get into Cape Fear, and we always had glow paint. So we would do, the mask with the dreads and the glow paint, and we'd take that off, and we'd have glow paint underneath. Everything was black lit, and whatever craziness was happening then. So I don't know what happened, but we just ended up with this middle section where, it was Callahan at the time. He'd play a beat, and Carey would play some bass, and we had this idea to start bringing people up on stage and spanking them with glow paint. And so we had somehow at the Cape Fear found this big, giant, long paddle. Like, I don't know
Like
where
a
you went to
pizza paddle?
school
Like
as a kid, but where I went to school as a kid in Tennessee, like they had these badass paddles with holes in them, and they had names carved into them and stuff, right? It's back when you can hit kids
I'll make
at
you
school.
forget your birthday.
Sure. So we just load this thing up with glow paint, and I start getting people on stage. Well, here's the issue. It's all ages, and it starts out innocent enough with clothes. And then the clothes start coming off, and everybody, there's this big ramp up and a spanking, and paint goes flying everywhere. And somehow Cape Fear, that was Coos Bay? Where was that? Newport. Somehow, there wasn't a lot going on there, so it was always full, it was a great time.
Place was
always full,
dude.
and the energy was great. And so we're doing all this stuff. First show, everything's fine-ish. Not telling you about the after stuff because that was not fine. And then we come back the next time, and it was like word had gotten around about the spanking show. So we get towards the end of the deal, and we're kind of ramping it up the whole time. And before you know it, we're doing the spankings, and underage girls are taking their pants down. And then some dude got just buck-ass naked. Just all of his clothes off. And he got paddled everywhere.
It's always the dude.
The dude has to
just
cross
like,
the
what?
line. Then we got shut down because I think parents found out, and the fire trucks came, and they shut the whole damn thing down mid-show. It wasn't planned.
Oh my God.
The first
Yeah,
time.
that's
The second
beautiful.
time it was totally planned, but
Because it went over so good the first time. Wow, that's a good story, man.
Yeah, I
Spanking
don't
shows of Newport.
there's mixed emotions in there.
Yeah.
At the time, I was 20, so I don't feel that bad. But
You
as
probably
a
weren't
grown
the-
man, I'm like, what in the hell?
I know. dude.
Yeah,
I
like,
know.
really?
So I also have to ask you about busting your foot in Albuquerque before a show.
Can't remember the name of the club. All I remember is being totally enthralled that the Deftones were there the night before. I was like, oh my gosh, there's the
Oh
bus,
yeah,
you
no,
know?
that's cool.
It's the Deftones. I was freaking out. When I was younger, I thought I was invincible, could do anything. So they had this giant stage, and it's a stage like the Roseland, that high up off the ground.
Roseland's pretty high, yeah.
But it was a sports kind of place. So they had these on the sides of the wall. They had basketball hoops.
It's kind of a trip.
It was kind of a trip, and the bar was way in the back. Well, during sound check, I took a basketball and I ran full speed, jumped off the stage, and tried to catch the hoop.
Oh no, John.
And I broke my ankle and had to go to the thrift store and get some makeshift crutches and played the rest of the tour on a stool.
No. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yikes.
Yep.
You weren't doing much spanking that show.
No, I don't think I did much spanking after that. Newport was the only spank fest, if you will.
Spank fest. I love it.
And Carey has all that on video. We watched it a couple years ago and thought we probably should not.
He mentioned
let
that,
this
but I wasn't
out.
going to say it was
Yeah.
on video. But yeah, he says there is video of this.
It's actually VHS tape. I'm hoping it just deteriorates. Like its time is due.
Yeah, we've got a few of those
Yeah.
ourselves. Okay, cool. So, wow. So, yeah, it sounds like you had a crazy ride in Jollymon.
Yeah.
And so, let's see. So that must have been the...
nothing like probably Sweaty Nipples guys.
Oh, those guys were crazy when I
Yeah.
was a kid.
Yes.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, we had a lot of fun.
Yeah. So what was the next record after that? Was Stone Nation Radio?
Yeah. Yep. Carey actually was awesome to write with. We wrote really well together, and got to be a part of that up until about the recording. I got sidetracked, man. I got married and started having kids, and just went a different direction. You know what I mean? So I didn't get to be part of that recording, but.
Oh, you didn't play on that record?
I didn't. Void Walker's the only.
Oh my
album
gosh,
I played
Void Walker!
on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for doing that much time, have one record. I just told him last week. I'm like, we need to do another one, like now.
Dude, that is so funny because like the only Henry's Child record I played on was Clearly Confused.
Oh wow.
So Mumbles and Screams, and here's the thing, I played the CD release party for Mumbles and Screams, and the other bass player loaned me the gear to play it.
Wow.
So I'm kind of with you in that boat.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So family life comes up.
Yep.
Gets sidetracked, kind of out of Jollymon.
Yep.
What brings you back in? What was the next band? Was it
The next band was Blyss.
okay? Yep.
So
I remember seeing the name Blyss around. Yep.
Blyss with a Y.
Blyss.
Yeah. Yep. So it was back to Brian, because Brian didn't last in Jollymon with two bass players very long. He was out, and then Brandon had stayed in Jollymon and recorded on the Stone Nation Radio. I just kind of laid low for a little bit, and then Brandon had left Jollymon. So me, Brandon, and then our buddy Pat Hildreth, who's a fantastic artist and super creative dude, we started doing the Blyss thing, and that went really well, man. We put out an album, and I think it would have been in '98.
Sounds about right.
Called
Yep.
Real Simple Feel Good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
We had a ton of fun with that. And then there was like it's so weird with these band names back in the day, and everybody has another name, and, we got the threatening letter about changing our name. And interestingly enough, the other band that had Blyss turned out to be a band called Lifehouse, which is like a contemporary rock band.
I was going to say,
Have you heard of them?
like a Christian,
Yeah,
like maybe a Christian
Yeah.
adult contemporary band.
Yeah. So, Blyss really just switched to drummer and and switched a name to Assisted Living. So
Assisted
just
living.
kind of.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So
So
that's that. So Assisted Living is Blyss.
essentially. Yeah.
With one member change.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then Assisted Living, there still is like stuck on the ceiling of the Wow Hall green room some old school Assisted Living stickers.
Really?
Yeah,
Nice.
somebody really tall must have done that.
Right? Yeah.
So it sounds like you just never quit playing music, man.
Can't. Well, I've tried. It's not healthy.
It's not possible to do, is it?
No. I think anyone that's got like art in their blood and in their heart needs to do it on some level, or
So
it's not good for you.
yeah, and it's funny because we do all these little get-togethers, but the reality is we should all be doing them on Thursday nights when we can actually drink and stuff like that.
Exactly.
But it's funny because I'm with you. Like the whole cohesive thing for us is really weird, and I'm going to say it, but is Salem. So like because everybody's spread throughout the state, like there's I don't even know how to say it. Like it takes effort and energy to come to rehearsal. When it takes you an hour to go to rehearsal, you have to kind of set up your day to be able to do it. And that has a cost payoff with it. So the cost is you can't do it as often as you'd like, but the payoff is you get really present to what you're doing. So it can almost be like a compressed thing where you do a little bit of songwriting here, and then you work on the stuff you're going to do for the next record, and then you work on the stuff that you're going to do for the next album. So when I get people who are kind of within our wheelhouse, I always like to grill them on how they rehearse. And so where do you guys currently rehearse?
Carey's got the dungeon, the basement.
And do you, I actually should preface this. Do you have more than one band?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Carey with Jollymon, you go to his dungeon.
And we have most of our gears there. Like all my setup.
So you
is
have a
there.
rig that you can
I have
leave
a rig
there.
there,
Okay.
yeah, that stays there. So that makes it nice and easy.
Mm-hmm.
And then we kind of set it up so we have a rig there, and then we have kind of big cabs that we keep stored outside of there. So if we go do a show, it's simpler and quicker.
So do you have a practice rig and a live rig, and you sort of keep them separately? I'm asking for a friend.
Yes, on cabinets.
Okay.
Yes, on cabinets. No, on pedals and heads and guitars. Right. But yes, I have rigs all over the place. Just because over the years collecting them, and then secondly, making sure that if something comes up and we can do a show or do something together with your buddies, that it's not a logistical nightmare.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
So.
Totally. Well, and I, admittingly, as bass players, technology has improved so much with this sort of class 5, whatever. They're not even transformers anymore. Well, shit. I mean, things don't even have hard drives anymore. It's all flash memory. So it's just a different world.
Yeah.
To get that much power into a small. I mean, I have a head like this big that's like 750 watts, but so you're right. The big challenge is cabinets. Like having a cab available that sort of is modded or sounds good or is going to be the right ohmage or whatever. Okay, cool. And so it's just the three of you guys.
Yep.
How often do you work on new material?
I'd say every time we get together, because one of the things that I really appreciate about working with Carey and Mark is that Carey he captures everything on recording.
Do you guys record the
Everything.
entire rehearsal?
The entire session.
And so what
Everything.
does he go back then and listen to it and kind of
yeah.
chop it up and edit it?
Yep.
Wow.
So generally we'll get there and pleasantries and, joke around and whatnot. And then we'll just jam. Like no like agenda, just somebody starts riffing and we just go and see where that takes us. And then maybe we'll do some of that for, I don't know, half hour to an hour, just making shit up on the fly.
Yeah.
And then if someone has an idea they brought in, which is generally Carey's a writing machine. He's always got riffs, or he has kind of recycled something.
Rich Clinton is our Carey. He
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm more of an on the fly kind
the
of
dude
riff
spits
guy.
magic.
Yeah.
I mean, even when I jammed with Carey, can you imagine that?
Yeah.
So he shows up in his car, and,
Of course he does.
and like I go to, now you've seen my office in the parking lot, right? So we're lugging all this gear up these stairs, kind of a thing. And everybody else here got a kick out of it.
And he's so, DIY, like builds the boards, he can just.
Oh, it's just incredible. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Carey's amazing. You're very blessed. So you recorded he records all this stuff.
Yeah.
And he'll go in back and he probably chops it up.
He
and listens
sends it
to
all to us.
Okay.
So we download and that's been awesome.
Yeah.
For like making progress quickly. Like anyone who's playing in a band, I would highly recommend this. You do the practice, you get the recording, you listen to it during the week to go, ugh, I need to pick it up here, or I like what I did there, or I don't. So you constantly can improve upon it if you're kind of following this pattern, right?
Totally.
Well, he'll send snippets of the new jams too, so we can kind of see what sticks and what doesn't stick. And yeah, I mean, he's archived everything. I don't know. And we don't practice a ton, because of life, and it's on a Saturday. So we might have 75, 80 practices archived. I don't know what the number is, right?
It's still quite a lot.
Yeah, but you have it all. It's pretty rad.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. And I think that also too, I mean, if you're offering advice to people listening to this, there's a safety in being with people in your tribe who you can make those mistakes. I mean, dude, I'm the king of wrong notes. Even like looking at Rich's fingers and just kind of whatever. And it's like, I'm with you. There's a shield that kind of just comes off of you. And then it becomes kind of a joke. Like you listen to the jam back and you're like, oh, that was kind of crappy. And like, I'm going to go to a fifth here kind of a thing. We're not we've all played with people that are super technical like that. Like
Sure.
Hit the eighth over here. You're just like, nah.
Well, you can lose a lot of the
but the momentum.
heart
So
in
the
that,
so
if you're
the
not
context of
careful.
it. Yeah, the context of it allows you the sort of the luxury to be able to kind of do that. So that's really awesome.
But it also gives you that accountability. You know what I mean? With yourself, if not with the other players you're with, to where if you continually are doing this wrong thing, it's like,
Well,
yeah,
yeah.
you know, you need to.
Hopefully they mentioned that before the studio.
Well, yeah, well, of course, yeah, but you know what I mean. Just internally, I think it's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, at this stage in life, the whole reason to play music, obviously, is number one to kind of flex that creative part of you that's always wanting to be released, so to speak, right?
Yeah, totally.
To see people that you love and care about and get to spend time with them, because life is so incredibly freaking busy because we've created that for ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's family or whatever. So you still get, you know, the camaraderie of seeing friends that I probably wouldn't just go grab a beer with, because there's no time just to go grab a beer, right?
I know. I'm with
And
you.
the jamming on top of it. So, I mean, I feel so lucky that I get to do that with those guys.
We're pretty blessed, man,
with some,
for sure.
You know, a couple groups of other guys, you know.
Absolutely.
It's pretty cool.
Totally. You know, one thing that happened for me is because I had kind of in between, I had life reboot. My wife doesn't know anything different. Like, she doesn't know not playing in a band.
Yeah.
Not necessarily Henry's Child, because Henry's Child, you know, it's funny, Henry's Child has been reunited longer than they were together in the first place.
That's awesome.
Which is so weird to think about. But the funny thing is, when you're 20, 5 years is a quarter of your life. So, you know, 5 years now is nothing. 7 Second Circle took 5 years to put a record out. I mean, you know, it gets time compression expansion.
You bet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's great. So now that you are recording these rehearsals and getting ready for whatever, what are you getting ready for? That's my next question. Anything on the horizon for the Jollies?
Our mantra has been, we have no requirements. There's no requirements, right? It just needs to be easy and fun. I think we all talk about and would probably crave to do another recording of some sort, right? But there's no plan, right? Other than let's just keep writing, having fun. As long as everyone's having fun and everything's good. Shows are fun.
Yeah.
But, you know, you can't do them all the time, so we don't. And
that's the other thing I feel that's changed a lot. I feel like back in, I mean, it probably was really a factor of multiple things. I mean, nothing is ever one thing. Everything in life is an emergent, right? So I feel like probably because we were young, we used to play out all the time.
had to.
Like, I mean, even having a Thursday or a Friday open would never even occur to me. Like,
Right.
So now I'm with you. So like shows are much more momentum. Like there's a lot of build up for it. And it's like, who's opening and who's doing this thing over here and who's part of this thing. And so it becomes this more even quarterly, I found.
It was a lot more hive.
Yeah.
I think back then. And
Yeah.
Yeah, and there were so many things growing in different areas, and if you wanted to know, you had to be there. You couldn't catch it on your device.
That's true.
You know,
That's
and you
true.
had to sign up and on a sheet and hope that somebody sent you something in the mail, the postal service, so you didn't miss the next one,
That's
right?
right. That's
or
right.
you'd have to make sure you're driving in the right part of town, and you have to stop and check out the poll and see what's happening on the flyers. Like that was that was the information.
I also feel like, and this could be just totally made up in my head, I feel like tribes were a lot more accepting back then. Like in a way that, so I have really two conversations, John. There's like one conversation is, these are, by the way, not to psychoanalyze this whole thing, but these are both completely made up stories that just live inside my head. On one hand,
I will follow you down the rabbit hole.
close to your Motley Crue story. Like, I'd get my ass kicked if I brought a Journey album to school.
Yeah.
Because people who were rockers were like, that's not even rock. That's like, how dare you in the same breath mention Judas Priest and Journey? That you're a dick for that. And on the other hand, I feel like tribes were much more accepting. Like you could drive up to Portland, because I lived in Eugene, so I drive up to Portland, go to the Meow Meow or some weird like little one-off all ages place, and meet enough people to either get a gig by word of mouth or like get a phone number from somebody. Because I remember the breakthrough that we had with who I ended up working for a while, and ended up working really for Floater is what it ended up being.
Yeah.
those types of people don't seem to exist anymore. The kind of the kind of mishmash of like, I want to manage you and I want to kind of book you, but doing it for multiple things. Because on one hand, like Jollymon played with Silverchair when they came through. Big gig, giant show in Seattle. But there was all these promises of this other stuff that just never, it just materialized into essentially nothing. Do people even, are there even booking agents and that sort of thing anymore?
You know, I really don't even know. I'm sure there are. You know, it's just so different. There's just, the industry's so different. So
maybe
it's
I
like
should stop
anything else.
Maybe I should stop emailing them and using Facebook, because that's what old people do.
Sure. Just find out where the money's at. That's where everybody's sitting, right?
There you go.
That's, I mean, seriously.
It's so true.
So they're probably in merchandise. I mean, I don't know. Like, that's how, they're not in streaming. You can't make any money streaming. Shows are tough because people don't attend shows like before. It's just different, man. And the scene is, in my opinion, is completely different. Like, just the whole approach to everything. So, I mean, my age is my age. So if I go back and my experience and just look at how, for example, if you've watched all those old archives of what was happening in Seattle and how all those bands were like at each other's shows and all hanging out together all the time, right?
Yeah.
It kind of created this really positive, probably healthy, competitive scene where people were getting better together.
Yeah.
Where when that was happening down here, it didn't, to me, feel the same. It felt more testosterone competitive in a way, right? It wasn't as lovey-dovey. I mean, there was some of that. Like, I can talk about the Floater guys, or we were playing a show together and we break down outside of Corvallis. They drive all the way from Eugene, load our gear, pick us up, bring us down there to do the show.
Yeah,
you know
camaraderie,
what I mean?
man.
There was camaraderie.
Totally.
I think that's super important in a music scene or any type of, you know, movement, if you will.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
And so, I don't know. I think if that somehow could be a breakthrough where people weren't so, for lack of, I don't know. I'm not saying people are self-absorbed. We're all self-absorbed, right?
People are pretty self-absorbed,
You're talking
John.
about psychoanalyzing things. I don't want to go deep down the rabbit hole, but I think if everyone could take their freaking mask off and just be like, hey, man, I love doing this. You love doing this. Let's create something where everybody can do it all the time, and it's fun for us, and it's fun for people. And
I'm with you.
If we could get back to that somehow, there could be some fun things happening in this beautiful town again.
Totally. No, I'm with you. The other side of all that is, rather than being distribution, like distribution's just completely handled now with Spotify and DistroKid and CD Baby and all these big stuff, it all becomes more about curation. So it sort of is a balance kind of between those, like finding out what works inside of those and if it matches the goals of everybody. Because in Henry's Child, our goal doesn't really seem to be making money, but breaking even is a constant conversation.
Yeah.
So it's
why?
Yeah, it's just changed. It's just changed.
Why?
It's just different.
Because it's for the. See, we don't have those conversations. It's like, and here's why. What I mentioned earlier, I get to flex the creative. I get to hang out with my brothers that I love, and it makes me happy. And the other bull crap that I have to deal with in life, to be able to do that, fine, right? The work and which I love my work, but at the same time, let's just do what we love, and it's a cost of life, I guess. We're just spend our money on doing this because we love it, and if other people dig it, that's awesome. Like, anytime we get feedback, it's like, that's super cool. And I feel like if we ever get hung up in trying to make money or get money back, it'll wreck the goodness of what happens in the jam room.
Yeah.
Right.
No.
It's a distraction from all the stuff that can happen creatively. So
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah.
And it definitely is well worth the price of admission.
yeah, totally.
I mean, paying rent, driving.
And
for-
we're not
for us, it's
20.
all-
We don't have to get the broken down Astro van and, ask for someone to Western Union us money, you know what I mean, for a sandwich because we haven't eaten in 2 days. And I feel like we're super lucky from that, all of us from that standpoint,
Well, there certainly is no shortage of people going to Jollymon shows for sure. I mean, when I saw the Mississippi Street show, and I saw the Doug Fur show, the John Boldt came up to, man.
Yeah,
that was pretty.
That was so awesome that he came up here for that.
That was a good show,
yeah,
man.
That was fun.
That was a good show. The last thing I want to ask you about is, Carey mentioned you have an acoustic project called CEO.
Yeah.
What's that all about?
Oh man, it's about fun, is what it is. So
More
it's
fun.
yeah.
You have a lot of fun in music, dude.
Man, you have to.
I'm gonna come and play with you, dude.
Whenever, anytime. CEO doesn't have bass or drums. 3 acoustic guitars. It's me and my buddy Alex Emery, who's a phenomenal guitar player, and my best friend Chris Gallion, who also is a phenomenal musician. Had a band called Fourth Plane Giant, a band called Element 57. Just a great singer, guitar player. But 3-piece acoustic, and it's almost parody. It's all covers. I describe it as a campfire sing-along in a club. So there's a lot of, what do you call it, interactive drinking and singing that happens between us and the audience. And we do everything from Michael Jackson to, I don't know, man, Van Halen to, some obscure stuff.
Nice.
But songs you wouldn't expect to hear played through acoustic guitars. A lot of piano songs that we've transposed into acoustic songs.
And somebody plays the lead of whatever the riff is. Oh,
You
that's
bet.
awesome.
Yeah. So if you can imagine Human Nature by Michael Jackson. And then just sing along, man. We
good
try to
Lord.
it's tough. It's tough, but it's fun at the same time. And we just try to get everyone to sing along, and just, if we're going to do it, man, let's do it up.
That's
Have
pretty
fun.
cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
And then
How often does CEO play out?
we were playing quite a bit, but twice a year, maybe 3 times a year. It's got a big following of everyone that's kind of become friends. And when I say big, I mean a couple hundred people,
Sure.
in
No,
a room
totally.
that's
Oh, of course.
yeah, that's, it's a lot of fun. So it's kind of, anything that works like that and is fun, it's kind of hard to let go of. So,
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Totally, man. No, I'm with you. Well, I am going to put you on the spot, though, a little bit.
Yeah.
I do want to play a Field Tripper song.
Oh boy.
And I only actually have access to the EP. And I have my personal favorite, which is going to be Heat Wave.
Okay.
Do you have a personal favorite on there?
I like Heat Wave, or I like Ride On.
Ride On's a good song, too.
Yeah.
I was right up against it, too.
Yeah.
Because, even my daughter was all like, that kind of sounds like Jollymon. I'm all, well, I'm doing research, honey.
It's kind of cool. We didn't even know the Jolly at that point.
That's so funny, too.
Yeah.
That's a really great story. I wonder, I'll have to kind of have Carey on for episode 3 or whatever to figure out what that gap was in between there. He might have told me and I just sort of spaced it off.
Yeah.
My brain is not as functional as it was in
No
the past.
way.
But no, it will wrap this up with playing Heat Wave from Field Tripper.
Shoot me down, my
sweet.
Well, John, thanks for coming in, man. I appreciate
man.
talking to you today, and it was great.
Yeah, thanks,
I
Tom.
feel like we just started.
We
We
did.
could talk like for ages.
Well, we'll go out after this. Keep going.
Sounds good, man.
All right, bud.
Now you know what I mean when I say that John is a very authentic guy. He just is an amazing dude. And I really had a good time sitting down and talking to him. One thing I didn't mention on the beginning part of this was it was just a really strange day because it was totally inverse. Like I had raced into the office and I didn't have anything ready. And he was so great. He was really like very accommodating. He just sort of sat down. We kind of chatted as I sort of got the microphones going and things like that. And typically I like to kind of have everything ready to go. And it's like, you know, somebody just walks in and they sort of see their little swag bag of Henry's Child stuff. But he was very, very gracious and very generous with his time. And that just comes across in everything that he does. And, you know, hey, man, I love the whole notion of Jollymon jamming, and that's how they come up with songs. I mean, that's really the way to do it, man, especially when the mission is to be creative. The mission is to get out there and create into the world. So it's really great. I really enjoyed that conversation and look forward to having John back. So like I mentioned before, come on out to the show this Friday, October 25th at the Sessions Music Hall down in Eugene on 7th Street. Doors open at 7. The show starts at 8. You can get tickets on Facebook or you can get them through Eventbrite. If you are not a subscriber to this podcast, it's really literally a one-click subscription, whether you're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or on Google Play. Hit the subscribe button, and that way you'll make sure to get all of the episodes straight to your device for you to listen to. Also, if you're not signed up to our newsletter list, you should check that out. You get a couple unreleased songs sent to you. The way you can sign up to our free newsletter list is by going to henryschild.com and clicking the download button on top. Leave your first name, your email address, and I will automatically send you a couple tracks. I think that's it. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you at the show on Friday.